Hey everybody, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, I'm Mercury. So today, still on Icon, not physically, but I was on Icon. And this is a review of different entertainment offerings that they had while I was sailing on Icon of the Seas. These are some of the main event type of shows that I'm going to be reviewing here. So we have Aqua Action, which is the water show in the Aqua Theater. We have Wizard of Oz, which is their Broadway style production. We have the ice skating show, Spectra Elemental Beauty, and Mosaic. So those are the shows I'm going to be reviewing in this video. First up, Aqua Action. Let's head to the Aquadome. So we just got out of the Aqua Action Aqua Show. It sounds a little redundant, but that's what it was. There is an Aqua Theater at the front of the ship, and it's a little different than on the Oasis class, because in the Oasis class it's at the back of the ship and it's outdoors and open to the elements. This is inside of a dome. So because it's inside of a dome, there are these other like technical elements that they're able to do. It's not affected by wind and weather, but they have also like projections that they're able to use, and the range of like where their aerialists go is also expanded. So cool, so cool. I mean, any show that opens with a Guns N' Roses song, yeah, you're already getting good points with me. So great music. Also a lot, I don't want to say show tunes, but like movie themes. They use music from Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean, Terminator, like boom, boom, boom. Yeah, you know, like those beats, like those epic musical beats. And they set the show to that. So there were a lot of different numbers that happened during the show. They had like synchronized swimmers, they had slackliners, so like where they bounce on the line and they do flips and flips and flips and flips. And I'll put some clips in right here. It was so magical to see this. They had the dancers, the swimmers, they had high divers doing amazing dive numbers, and at the end of the show they shared that some of them are even Olympians. That is the caliber of performers that we have here. So we have high dive Olympians on board. Amazing. I was so impressed. I loved it. I feel like the more I see the shows, the Aqua shows are becoming my favorites. It was my favorite on the Oasis ship. It's my first show of this cruise, but I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out ahead. So yeah, Aqua Action, amazing. And because they're like trying out their new space and it's a new ship, they're also trying out new numbers. And they did an encore number where they had a hand balancer contortionist who came out and did an extra number. It's not part of the show. They said that they may use this act in when Star of the Seas launches in the future. To be determined. So we saw the Wizard of Oz show, and I have a very mixed review of my thoughts about the Wizard of Oz show. So I loved the set design. The sets were very dynamic. They used a combination of screens that were mobile and moved around the stage, like to the front of the stage, the back of the stage. You know, they really helped not only convey movement and depth, but in some ways, like, characters were portrayed on them. They're very clever in their use of the screens. They also had set pieces, like physical pieces, like the house in Kansas that came onto the set. They also opened the show before it started. So, like, it was supposed to start at 9:30, and at 9:20, they had Dorothy visible on stage in sort of like the O of Oz, but it was her room. And you hear, like, these weather reports going on, and, like, she's just in her room in, like, a modern kind of, like, sweatshirt, and it kind of sets the stage that this isn't necessarily, like, the time frame of the movie, but it's very unclear going forward if that was, sort of intentional or not. But you see her in her bedroom, and you keep hearing these weather reports of, like, there's a storm coming, there's a tornado warning, and that was sort of like a nice way to sort of set the stage for it. The way they introduced, I forget the character's name, but she's not the Wicked Witch, but, like, in reality, and then she turns into the Wicked Witch. You know who I'm talking about, when she rides the bike in, like, it was very, like, spot on to the original movie. And I felt like in a lot of ways, this show was very true to the movie and tried to replicate it. But I also think in doing so, it sort of got hung up on itself. And I think it led to overacting where overacting didn't need to happen. I think there's a degree of overacting that has to happen on stage performances. It's just the nature of it to convey the emotion, to get the message across. But I think it took it a little too far. But if you think about the original Wizard of Oz and, like, Scarecrow, for example, like, very, very animated, almost like a Gumby type of a character, right? But instead of altering that in any way, they just emulated what already existed. And that's sort of like true with all of the characters. I also think that the costuming, I think they did a great job with the costuming, with one exception. The Cowardly Lion looks a little bit like a teddy bear. I think he looks a little teddy bear-like, but all of the other costumes I loved. I thought, like, Tin Man looked great. Scarecrow looked fabulous. Dorothy's dress was great. I think the costuming was wonderful. Both Glinda and the Wicked Witch of the West had a unique kind of spin on their costumes, and I think they worked really well. So I think the costuming overall was really, really good. Cowardly Lion, I would have tweaked it a little bit. So, and the singing. The cast had amazing vocals and range and was well cast and well suited to the parts that they played. The person who played the Wicked Witch of the West, she had this growl in the way that she sang, but it fit the character. It was on par with what it should be, right? And that all of the characters, their range, they were very dynamic. They really hit all the notes. It was wonderful in that regard. So my only sort of part that makes it a mixed review is like that overacting, because it went on throughout the whole show. It wasn't just like, oh, this part got a little exaggerated. It was like, no, it was the whole thing. There was a lot of overacting. But I don't fault the performers. That's a directorial, decision that's made. So that was the only sort of kind of hesitation for me. But the set design, the other piece that I didn't mention, during the tornado, Dorothy's in her room and her bed starts floating away and starts floating over the audience, all over the theater. Literally anywhere in the orchestra section, Dorothy's gonna fly over you. We had the first row just behind orchestra, and so we watched the bed just sort of floating all around the orchestra section. It was pretty cool. And then the scene with the poppies where they make you sleep, and in that then it snowed in the movie. Well, they used Snope, and it snowed in the theater. There was snow, but the set design, it was really good, and the use of aerials to progress the story and not do aerials for the sake of doing aerials. Right? There's a lot of times that you'll see aerials in shows and it's just sort of like, oh, here's a cool flip or a cool trick or a cool extra thing. But no, the aerials in this were done in a thoughtful way that really progressed the story. Whether it was, Glinda floating because, in the movie she came in that bubble, or if it was the monkey men giving them height, or when they scoop up Dorothy and they again carry her around. So it was like a thoughtful use of aerial apparatus, and I really appreciated that. And again, the set design, the Wicked Witch's castle, very, very cool set. So that is my thoughts on The Wizard of Oz on Icon of the Seas. So we went to see the ice show, Starburst, Elemental Beauty, and that took place in Absolute Zero, which is the ice skating arena on the ship. It's on deck 6, so it's sort of like you have to walk through Playmakers to get to the ice skating area, and that whole area is called Absolute Zero. And they had an amazing ice show. Honestly, in my opinion, this is probably one of the best ice shows I have seen on board any of the ships I have been on. They combined the use of projections, ice skaters, like professional skaters, and a professional, not just juggler, contact juggler. And if you're not familiar with the difference between juggling and contact juggling, if you've ever seen the movie Labyrinth with David Bowie, and he had the crystals and, he passes them back and forth and they always stay in contact with his hands, that's contact juggling, as opposed to juggling, that toss juggling, where you're throwing it in the air or bouncing it off the floor. Two different types of juggling. Same principles overall. But the use of the contact juggler, he almost was this mystical type of character. And it was sort of about different elements on the periodic table and representations of them. And he was supposed to be like this cosmic being, sort of like overseeing, all the chemistry. And it was so creative and stunning. They even did the opening number where he used contact juggling balls, but it was almost like a hybrid with a levy wand. Now, I myself spin levy wand, and I have been known to teach beginner levy wand classes, and I thoroughly appreciated this because it was a combination of contact juggling and levy wand. And if you're not familiar with levy wand, the very, very simplistic way of explaining it is it's a stick on a string. It's a weighted balanced stick, and the string is in the center point of the balance, and you anchor it to your body, whether it's your finger or your hand, and then you use momentum and sort of manipulate how it's floating around, right? He did that with contact juggling balls. So it was this incredible spectacle to watch, and the balls were glowing and they looked like orbs, and they would go out and come back in, and the illusion was precise, and you could tell that the contact juggler, he was also a professionally trained dancer. You can tell by the way he carried himself and his movements and his gestures. Amazing. And then the ice skaters, oh my gosh, these ice skaters, they are top notch, landing their jumps, landing their flips. There were some of them doing flips on the ice. There were upbeat, energetic numbers, and you going into it, I wasn't sure what to expect in terms of what the music was going to be like, if it was going to be slow paced or no, they made science fun. They used music they used Weird Science as one of the songs. I'm trying to think of some of the others. Like I'm Blinded by Science. Like that was like another one. So they were using these really upbeat, energetic, kind of like 80s pop music that was science related. They also used, when they got to like the diamond, they used the I'm a Diamond song. I'm a diamond, I'm a dime. I'm really terrible with like pop music. I don't know who sings it, but I'm sure you all know. I'm sure you do. But it was like the costumes were amazing. Like the diamond costume I'm thinking of as I'm saying this, like she had like this big diamond hat on. It was so good. They did partners ice skating, singles ice numbers. Oh my gosh, it was so good. So for my review of this ice show on Icon of the Seas, if you are on Icon and you have a chance to see it, I would highly recommend this ice show. This is really one of the best ice shows I've seen. And it's on the ship, and it's included. You do have to make a reservation for it ahead of time. They let people in standby 10 minutes before showtime. We got there half hour beforehand, and there were tons of seats available, but 15 minutes beforehand, you're cutting it a little close. You want to get there somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes before showtimes, even if you have a reservation, because again, they open up that standby 10 minutes before showtime. So just keep that in mind. But yes, if you are on Icon of the Seas and they have this ice show, definitely check it out. Another performance that we saw was Mosaic. Now, if you've been around for a little while and you saw my vlogs from Anthem of the Seas, this might look a bit familiar. In fact, it might look very familiar. Yes, Mosaic is back. They are the same, acapella, beatbox. They're the same group. In fact, it was the same performance that I saw on Anthem of the Seas. And when I saw that they were going to be back on Icon, I was so excited. I was like, yes, they got them on the ship. Because I get the impression, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but the impression I'm under is that their appearances on the ship are not necessarily like all the time, right? So it's like, there's certain things that are sort of like staples, right? Like Wizard of Oz is the show on Icon, right? Just the same as when I was on Anthem, We Will Rock You was the show on Anthem, right? Those are like the fixed shows. There's this other rotation of shows, whether it's like headline comedians or performances, the cover bands, like when I was in on Anthem, there was like Coyote Mixtape was one cover band, but then there was this other U2 cover band. So it was like, there's always like a rotation. And I feel like Mosaic is one of the rotating performances. But since they turned up on Icon, it looks like they're not restricted to a single ship. They turn up on different ships. So like I said, I was super excited to see that Mosaic was back. Now, what are they? It is a group of 5 guys, and they perform music without instruments. No instruments whatsoever. All of the sound, the tones, the beats, everything comes from their mouths. Whether it's like a noise, a singing, a whatever the case may be. Some of them even have the ability to replicate instruments. One of them did a little kind of gag where he was like outside the club, and it was like a muffled kind of boom chum boom chum boom chum boom chum. Then he was like inside the club, and he's like do 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 do. And I can't do it. I'm terrible at this, but his version of it so much better. But it's just so incredible because it's like they can sing, perform just about any song without needing instruments, and they can create that beat, that tempo, that layered sound to the extent that they close out with Bohemian Rhapsody, and they're able to do it justice without needing a Brian May-esque guitar solo in the middle, right? Like they can produce so much range of sound just from their voices. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So my recommendation, my review of Mosaic, if you have an opportunity to see Mosaic, see them. I have seen them and then ran back to see them again. They are impressive. Even if like you're like beatbox or acapella, that's not my thing. Give it a chance. Give it a chance, my friends, because this is like next level. It's not necessarily what you're anticipating. They do a whole range of music, a whole range of types of songs that they do, a little something for everyone in terms of genres that they perform. And it's just truly magical to watch this talent on stage. So my review for Mosaic, just as before, absolutely see him if you have that opportunity. So that is what I thought of all the different main entertainment on the ship. There are a lot of other entertainment offerings in smaller venues, such as dueling pianos. There was great entertainment there. The jazz club, Lou's Jazz and Blues, they had amazing performances there. So there are also great performances that are not just in the Royal Theatre. There are other performers all over the ship, so don't miss out on something small just because it's not in the Royal Theatre. And also, don't only go to the small stuff and skip the Royal Theatre, because there's great stuff both ways. So with that, I am done for the day. I'll see you all real soon. And until then, stay inspired by everyone. Take care.